Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts Repair. So this video is going to be something new. A couple weeks ago, just before I left on the last camping trip, I think. I'm losing track of time, doesn't really matter. I had a gentleman reach out to me and ask if I'd be willing to do a review of his custom bucking spikes for the Super XL. He said he'd sold a lot of them on eBay, and he wanted to send me a couple to review on the channel and post a link in the video and all that. I wasn't prepared for that in the sense that no one's asked me to do that before, so I said sure, why not? So here we go. Let me see, I'm not this isn't something I've done before, so my thought here is I'm going to compare it to these spikes that he sent. I'm going to compare them to the Homelite spikes that I have, and we'll just see, how they match up and what whether I'd use them. We'll go with that. So the test mule is going to be my XL 500, which, as almost all anybody in the Homelite biz knows, same chassis as the Super XL. This is the XL 500 I built to run, so that's why it's dirty. And yes, I've actually cut a little bit of wood with this. So let's start by taking the factory spikes off. It would help if I had the right wrench there. It would also help if I didn't throw it on the floor. Damn bar plates in the way. Okay. Quick cleanup. So that's the original spike, or that's a factory OEM Homelite spike. You use a number 12 screw, and some of the kits use a lock nut, or most of the kits used a lock washer and a standard nut. I don't know where I found these lock nuts at, but that's what I put on here. So let's take a look at what John sent me, and we'll go from there. So he's got two different types. He's got the quote-unquote bare steel, or just plain steel, and then he's got a version of that's stainless steel, which is intriguing because it should stay looking nice even after some abuse. So the first thing I noticed, just out of the package, they're light. They're really light. They're not as thick as the originals. That's why I've got the caliper out. We'll measure that in a minute. Yeah, very light. But in terms of shape, boy, these are pretty damn close. So I've got the holes lined up there, and I'm gonna hope that that's focusing. Really, really close. Really close. Like, not worth noting where it's different. Give you a straight on shot though, you can see the thickness difference. So, for grins, we'll measure the factory one. Basically just a smidge over an eighth of an inch on the factory. These ones I'd have to say are just a smidge over a 1/16 of an inch. Now I can bend this a little bit, but it's pretty rigid. This is good steel. Obviously the OEM ones you can't do that with because they are quite a bit thicker. Let's see what the weight is. This is my scale that I actually use to weigh packages on the way out the door, so it's accurate. So 1.8 ounces, 1.8 on the OEM one. Plain steel, 1.0. So that tracks roughly half the thickness, half the weight. Stainless steel is exactly the same. So that works. That tracks. Get this out of the way. The fit is just right there. Now, I can't use my factory hardware on this. There's an actual note on the website that makes it very clear that these are designed to use number 10 screws. And he did send me the screw kit. Now what he's got going are a nice kind of washer head screw and then a nylock. Now that nylock is going to be just as good as this lock nut that I was using, and better, honestly better than the original split washer. I would probably like to put something back there to protect the paint a little bit more than just the nut. I like the thought of a washer, but then I didn't even do that there, so shows I was being lazy when I put these on. So what size is this? And is it metric? That just might be metric. Or it might be a wrench that I think one of my children carted away and I haven't been able to find. Yeah, the 3/8 will fit well enough. What I want to do is get one of these on and see how tight it is. Since the factory was, the holes in the saw were designed to use number 12 hardware, I had the natural question of, how is this going to work? And it'll work just fine, because that fits so tight in there. Look at the fit. It's pretty nice. That's not going to move around on you. And again, with those nylocks, it should never loosen up. And being stainless steel, see this one, I've had to wire wheel. That's just regular steel. And it doesn't look bad at all, but I had to wire wheel it to clean up the years of yuck and rust and all of that. Stainless steel ought to stay looking nice, and if you really care, you can just wipe it down at the end of each day for your shelf queen. So I would say I have a positive impression of these. They are thinner, so I'm trying to envision a situation where that's going to matter in this particular case. It's hard to get any sideways leverage on that when you've got the guide bar in place, so I'm personally not going to lose any sleep over that. Not at all. So I think I'll leave that stainless steel one on the saw for now, and the next time I go up the firewood hill, I think this is the saw I will take, and we'll just I'll run a couple tanks of gas through it. We'll see how they do. They're sharp. In terms of sharpness, they're sharper than the OEMs, but then these have done 50 years worth of work and these haven't, so I don't know that I'm going to read a whole lot into that. But if you're just sitting there looking at it, you're not going to know hardly any difference. You're not going to know that wasn't original unless you're an absolute purist. And you go, wait a minute, Homelite didn't have nylocks back then. And if you really look close and you see the thickness is a little thinner, okay. But I got to give an absolute A on the attention to the shape. That just fits like a glove right there. That's worth another shot. That fits nicely. That shows that this was designed and measured off of an original, and there was time and attention put to actually making that correct. So I like this. I just for grins, before I came out here, looked around on eBay, and there's one other company that's making a Reproduction spike, and it's not the same shape. There was zero attempt at looking like the original. Nothing wrong with that. It just, if you want a more aggressive spike that's a custom, that's the way to go. If you want something that looks close to original but doesn't cost you nearly what an original a NOS one is going to cost, I think these are a great option. So I'll put a link in the video to these because I'm impressed. I like these. That is the eBay name of the seller. And feedback looked good. The sales history, it looked like close to 200 on that particular auction, and I'm sure he sold more than that. So yeah, I'm pleased. I like the way that looks, and I'm looking forward to testing these out. Those are sharp. Those are going to dig right in, so it's into some rocks, or I'm trying to think of how I would damage it, and I'm having a hard time envisioning it. I'll tell you one thing that the thinner spike achieves. Look at the clearance. You actually could get the bar adjuster screw out if you needed to, and you can't do that with this one. You'd have to take the spike off in order to move that screw out. So yeah, well, I'll say this is my first review, but I'm going to have to give this a thumbs up. I think these are an excellent option for avoiding high-priced new old stock spikes, especially if you're looking for a saw that you're, parts for a saw that you're going to be running and cutting with. I see absolutely no reason not to use these. So John, thank you for sending these out. Like I say, I'm going to put this through its paces the next time I go out cutting. And folks, if you're interested, the link will be in the video description, and I would have no problem ordering these in the future for saws that I'm working on.